Welcome to Play by Play Sports, man. This is your host, Marlo Smith. I'm here today to talk about Coach Prime and his sons and what we saw during the NFL draft. There's been a lot of talk about that. I know the draft is over with, but to me, it was a crazy time watching that draft. I was letting a lot of other things get cleared up and out of the way before I gave my opinion on it. And I labeled my thumbnail, Coach Prime failed, because a lot of people really laughed and thought it was funny, which everybody entitled to their own opinion and how they feel about situations or whatever they think happen. But Coach Prime, I think, was taught, the NFL was trying to teach not only just him and his kids a lesson, but any other father or son or sons duo that have bravado, or I wouldn't even call it arrogant. Some people, I saw a lot of time people saying they were arrogant, but Coach Prime has been that way. And nothing's wrong with, he's not arrogant, but nothing's wrong with being confident in yourself and believing in yourself and standing up for the things that you believe in. And what is crazy, that reading a lot of comments and hearing people taking great joy in watching somebody fall in the draft, and majority of these people that are celebrating another man's fall or his kids falling in the draft haven't done anything at all, typing on the computer and trashing somebody who actually, I don't care if he went unpicked. If you get a shot in the NFL or the NBA, that's a blessing in itself. But to take joy in somebody's falling in the draft and having a lot of crazy stuff to say is crazy. But I really believe the NFL did that on purpose. You cannot tell me that Shilo shouldn't have been drafted. This man's game fits the NFL. His game, his style of play fits the NFL. The college game is more wide open, and you got to be able to play in space. Everybody's throwing the ball 1,000 times a game. And but Shilo game fits the NFL style of play. But you can't tell me that guy didn't go out there and perform on most occasions. Everybody has a bad game here and there, but to not get picked at all is crazy. But let me get into this. We all watched the NFL draft, and it was straight up embarrassing. I'm going to say it again, how Sheduer and Shilo was done. And to hear so many people blame Sheduer and Shilo and Coach Prime because they were arrogant, and that's super crazy. That word, bruh, if you're not confident in yourself, why you even living? You can be humble. They are humble people, but you can be confident in yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. You should, every man or every woman should believe that they can do anything, and that if they feel something is not right with a situation for their children, that you're able to speak up. Eli Manning demanded that he wasn't going to play for a certain team. I think it was the San Diego Chargers. It's been so long ago, but he didn't take all that flack. They said that they weren't going to play for the San Diego Chargers, but they didn't catch all that flack. But yet still, Coach Prime and his boys did. But this man suffered. Sheduer suffered and fell so far in the draft as if this man was not one of the top 2 quarterbacks in college football, which is crazy. Anyway, but it was embarrassing, man, to hear the things that a lot of people had to say and was just embracing, these young men's failures. I'm not going to really call them failure. They got more money than most people that was talking trash about them. So they just wanted a shot. They probably had got more money than what they contract would have been if they would have got drafted. Unless they would have went, speaking of Sheduer, if he would have went higher in the draft, like in the top 5 or top 10. But trust me, the boy's going to ball out. But Prime and his boys have always been in the spotlight, man, since forever. Probably since they were born. And when they were able to realize who their daddy was, those boys was in the spotlight the minute they came out of their mother's womb. And it's always been that way. But it always seems to offend certain people. And that's the NFL. The good old boys network. They want to make sure they show you who's in power. But people fail to realize who really has the power. If the players put down the material and take their mind off of the material bull crap for a while and really think, because you had other NFL players who left the game on top. They took care of their money and they walked. And some of these players have talked about how the system works. But the thing about it is the owners and the NFL don't have the power. The players are the product. Nobody comes to watch the owner. Nobody goes to watch Roger Goodell. So the power, the product is the players. If the players leave the NFL and go to and start their own other league, you think the fans won't follow? You think somebody in media won't follow? They're not going to follow the owners. They don't care about the owners. Nobody does. When we turn the TV on Sunday, we tuning in to see the team, not the owners of the team. Nobody cares about Dallas Cowboy owner. Nobody cares about the Patriots owner. Nobody cares about none of the owners in the NFL. And I'm just telling you the honest to God truth. Nobody cares. When you turn that tube on Sunday, after church or whatever you do, we tuning in to see athletes get to it. But a lot of times players are blinded because they want the check and they're not really looking at who really holds the card. So they got to keep you on that leash by trying to instill in you that they have control, which they really don't. If all the players stop playing today, who's going to go see the owners? The owners don't make money if the players are not on the field. Yeah, the player probably won't get it. If you take care of your money, you'll be well off. You'll be pretty good. You can withstand. But that was a doggone shame the way they did those boys. But in my opinion, there was only one quarterback that I felt should have gone number one, and that was Cam Ward. I give that guy the utmost respect. Cam Ward, to me, has a lot of game. He actually reminds me of Steve McNair a little bit. I said a little bit. The kid can play. The kid can really play the game of football. And I think Tennessee needs way more than a quarterback. I'm going to tell you that now. That team is terrible. They got Calvin Ridley at wide receiver. But outside of that, I just don't think Tennessee is a really good football team. But Cam Ward, they're going to have to get that brother some help some kind of way, somehow, before they run him out of there, like they did the other quarterbacks. But Sheduer should have been the next quarterback off the board. And that's just the way it is. For them to do that young man like that, it was just unheard of. But I really believe the NFL punished them on purpose. The NFL really took time to use the draft to demean Coach Prime and his sons. to let the world know we run this. And it's not about you. And I know some people gonna say, oh man, that ain't what it is. Guess what? That's exactly what it was. They want to prove a point that you are not in control. You're not gonna do what you want to do in our league. Because if they allowed them to do that, it would give other people confidence. And that's what's wrong with the world today. You try to tame one group of you try to tame somebody who's confident and who's leading their children the right way. If you make a statement out of them, then the rest of the people be scared and fearful to do anything. They just fall in line for the check. That's the way it works. It's like that anywhere in America. Most corporate jobs anywhere. It's like that in business. I went through it too in business. But I'm not bound to anybody. But NFL punished Sheduer, Shilo. It was all because of who their father was, not how they performed on the football field. If it was that, you cannot tell. I don't want to hear nothing about he got sacked and he couldn't throw. That I heard people say, man, the man couldn't throw, didn't have a strong arm. Bro, you couldn't make the throw that man made in college if he didn't have a strong arm. You would have put Sheduer on Alabama, South Carolina, Georgia, anywhere, any big-time program in America, he would have been the number one pick. You wouldn't have heard one thing because Coach Prime wouldn't have been on that team. He wouldn't have been the coach of those teams. Just like Shilo. Shilo was at South Carolina. But you can't be an arrogant player and be a leader in a room full of alpha males. Sheduer teammates loved him and went to war for him when they was on that football field. He had teammates that would come to his rescue when team took cheap shots at him. Sheduer was a winner and a damn good quarterback who got screwed during the NFL draft process. Like I said, people found every reason to shoot that man down. He didn't have a strong arm, couldn't throw the football, couldn't throw the deep ball. I mean, this came up everywhere. They did everything they could do to try to break this young man. And that's all it came down to. Breaking the spirit of this young man. They did that. You even heard Shilo say at the draft party. You even heard him speaking on that. They did everything in their power, especially drafting that quarterback. And there ain't no shot at him. But drafting the quarterback, Tyler Shaw, whatever his name is, from Louisville. Bro, come on. Man, we didn't hear that man all season. Then Derek Carr retired a few weeks later. What kind of decision is that? The Saints don't even have a quarterback. They got Spencer Rattler, who could be something. He okay. So you mean to tell me Tyler Shaw is the guy that they really wanted on that team to lead the Saints? They'll be drafting another quarterback in the future. Or trading for one. I put anything on that. But anyway, but there's no knock on him. If they draft you, they draft you. But you can't tell me he was better than Sheduer. Ain't no way. Ain't nobody, and they can laugh and clap all they want doing those videos when they drafted him. They got their guy. Come on, man. But let me take you back to a quarterback they say couldn't play. Sheduer been that dude from high school on up. Sheduer was a top 300 player in the country, top 40 player in Texas, and a top 30 player in the quarterback class of 2021. He threw for over 12,000 yards, 166 touchdowns during his high school career. Over 3,700 yards came during his senior season. That came from hard work and dedication. And you can't throw the football? And to hear people saying in the comments, he can't throw. Man, how many of y'all have thrown for over 3,700 yards? Where y'all football stats at? Where your highlights? How many of y'all threw for 2 touchdowns in a peewee game? But all of a sudden, this guy can't throw. But during Sheduer's college days at Jackson State and Colorado, he passed for a total of 14,000. Over 14,000. 14,347 to be exact. 134 touchdowns. Over 1,200 completions and 50 career games. And now he can't throw. Now the dude can't throw. He has no skills to play in the NFL. Sheduer's draft had everything to do with who his dad was and not about his play on the football field, because he can definitely play the game of football. The NFL wanted to flex his muscles and show the world they can pull the card on somebody's future. And they did that. They did that. They pulled the card on that young man. And I dare say they did it on Shilo too. Shilo too. Shiloh's style of play fits the NFL. And he'll prove it. The NFL is not as wide open as college. Even though they try to be. But to go undrafted. There are players that were taken before him at his position. It was to prove a point to that family in general. And like I said, NFL wanted to flex their muscles to show the world they can pull your card if they wanted to. When honestly, and I don't care who get mad, players hold the card. They just don't know it because they blinded by some of them are blinded by the material. And if you're going to make any sacrifice to take control of anything, that means you got to give up something. The owners don't own nothing. They don't control nothing. They use their money to control you. They make you. It's a mind state to where they make you think they have control. But which the players don't realize, nobody comes to watch the owner. I would go to any NFL game. You think I'm going to look for the owner? No. I don't care if he do write your checks. He can't write checks if he don't have the players on the field. And I ain't talking about just one player. The players are the product. They paying the players enough money where the players can go and start their own NFL. You might have to start small, but you think it won't grow? Because the fan base is going to follow the product, which is the players. Nobody's going to follow the owners. If the players are still playing football, they're going to follow the players. And the owners will go crazy because they're going to think about all that money they lose and they're going to do whatever it takes to get you back. The media will follow you. You don't need ESPN. You don't need ESPN. You got YouTube. Everybody got a media channel. You got people who start businesses doing this. So you can be independent. You can do anything you want to do now without being tied to a certain entity. But that's a different story. But you have NFL owners who are afraid of the Sanders family confidence, not cockiness. They wanted to prove that they control all at the end of the day. That's all it comes down to. Coach Prime family has shined on the biggest stage since day one. And the biggest night of Sheduer and Shilo life. And it's an unfortunate situation that things went the way it did. But you know what? A lot of times, and you got to look at it as a blessing, because they don't need the money. They're not motivated by the money. They have that. Some players will probably they get drafted like that. They don't have the money. So they got to work. They know they got to go hard. But Sheduer and Shilo can just go play. Because what? They family is paid. They family is paid. So all they got to do is just play. Some people stress more because they fall that low or they go undrafted. They know they got to do everything in their power to make their team. And it may be 3-4 years before they can get a bank. But these two boys, they got the bank. They been had money. So they not motivated about that. They just motivated to prove the world wrong. That's what it is. But Shilo, let me jump to Shilo. I got off a little bit, man, because I just spoke what was on my mind. But Shilo was and still is a hell of a football player. People forget he played in the SEC for the South Carolina Gamecocks. This boy was in the SEC balling. Imagine if he would have stayed. Imagine if he would have stayed. In week 4 for South Carolina Gamecocks, during the 2020 season, Shilo made 10 tackles against the Auburn Tigers. Shilo finished the 2020 short football season with 32 stops for the Gamecocks. Should have played anywhere. Probably would have, like I said, went second, third round if he would have stayed at South Carolina. Just being in the SEC alone, his game would have just went through the roof. The boy can play. The boy had 32 stops in that pandemic short season. Could have played anywhere. But to go undrafted is crazy work. It's crazy, crazy work to go undrafted. But in 2 seasons at Colorado, Shilo Sanders, the man buzzed down 170 tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception. And most people will get drafted in the second round with those stats. Or even first round, just based on production alone. And it's just sad that Coach Prime, playing for their father, both these young men had to go through that. And that's what was crazy. Because they played for their father, and some people be like, if they weren't playing for him, they wouldn't have been starting. That's a lie. Sheduer had SEC offers. Sheduer took a visit to Alabama. He was being recruited by major programs. So people act like these boys couldn't play. And that's crazy, but they had to go through a tough moment, man, because of who they are, not because of what they did on the football field. And the good old boys made sure that things went the way they wanted to go. But you know what? This family will rebound. They're not worried about anything. Coach Prime and everybody they've talked. Sheduer looks happy. He in Cleveland. He's looking good during the camp. But Sheduer Sanders would definitely prove to the world why he was the second best quarterback. Some may say first, but I gave him second. I really like Cam Ward, but I like Sheduer game as well. But he would prove to the world that he was the second best and should have been the second quarterback off the board. But I think Cleveland is a good position for him. I really believe the man can win the quarterback battle. But to Coach Prime, you did what all dads should and want to do. Lead their sons the way you have, and you have every right to be proud. Hell, I wish you were my pops. Because my pop dipped on me a long time ago. I had to figure this thing called life out on my own. Yes, my mother was there, and I love her to death for it. But any father that guides their son to be successful like that, and I ain't just talking about money-wise. There are a lot of good fathers out there. Everybody ain't rich, but great men who are leading their families to giving their kids great opportunities to succeed in life. That's a great father who's guiding the path for their children. Ain't nothing wrong with that. That's not being cocky and arrogant. It's just confident in your ability and believing in your way of doing things. You don't have to sell yourself or fall to your knees because somebody may be above you. They put their pants on just like you. I want you to give me that same respect that I'm going to give you. Don't care who you are. Care what paycheck you write. I walk away from a paycheck before I let any man step on me or try to discredit me or make me change who I am just to get a paycheck. And if any man out there in the world was dropped to his knees for a check, then he got issues. But Coach Prime is still going to be Coach Prime. His kids are still going to do what they do. And they're still going to be successful out there. So, Coach Prime, just know you did a hell of a job, bro. And you still have a lot of people behind you. And Sheduer and Shilo, I expect to see y'all on Sundays getting playing time and showing out when that real training camp rolls around. Man, this is Marlo Smith, your host of Play by Play Sports. I just wanted to get that video in and get all that off my chest because, sorry it took so long, but that draft night was crazy. It was real crazy. And the way they did that family. But make sure y'all subscribe, like, and share this channel. Subscribe, like, and share this channel. And know that God is an awesome God and he reigns over all. This is Marlo Smith again, your host. Play by Play Sports. Your boys out. Peace.